Me and Zach have this running joke because I have like stubby thumbs, like stubby short thumbs.
So
and my big toe is shorter than my second toe.
Incredible.
And so he always makes fun of me. And so my rebuttal now is someone would pay a lot of money to see pictures of my feet.
Of your short toe.
Oh, yeah.
And
people have fetishes about stuff like that.
Does Wes have the same stubby thumb?
No, neither one of my kids got blessed with that.
Poop.
Also, my parents don't have it. My sisters don't have it. I'm the only one.
Maybe you were adopted.
What the ugly. That's like.
We all know that's not true. If
I
you
was
look at the
convinced
genetic,
that I was adopted for a while. Welcome to the Real Chat Podcast,
where we talk business, lifestyle, and mindset.
For the modern entrepreneur.
I'm Baxter Colburn.
I'm Allyson Elise.
I'm Mandi Wilke. Let's chat.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Allie. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good. That's good.
I'm good.
Is your house decorated for Christmas yet?
Oh, it will be.
It will.
I actually, do you know what? For the first time ever, so we're recording this before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time ever, I actually have the itch to decorate my house for Christmas.
When do you normally?
After Thanksgiving. I was raised like we do it the weekend after Thanksgiving. We put our tree up, we put all of the decorations up. And honestly, my whole adult life, I've never gotten excited to really decorate for Christmas before Thanksgiving. And like 2 nights ago, I was walking around my house and I was like, it just needs something. And now I think I'm going to have 4 Christmas trees.
Oh, that's
nice.
That escalated quickly. I'm a same proponent of that. We were a Black Friday decorate family, because we were never, let's go shopping. It's the great, as soon as Thanksgiving dinner is basically cleaned up, it's like, and Christmas. Same. Christmas music started either that night or it started the first thing when we woke up that next morning. And that was always the tradition. And we've already started to decorate in our house. So Rachel, over the weekend, she was like, I don't know. I'm like, do you want to decorate for Christmas? And she was like, yes, I would. So what you don't know is that we bought a house.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
Very exciting.
So we move in just like 3 days before Christmas.
Everybody should do that.
I think so.
Nobody
Big fan. Big fan of that. But because of that,
fun.
though, so at the time of this episode coming out, we'll be very close to moving, I think, very close to move date. But because of that, though, Rachel's like, well, we got to decorate early so we can have a Christmas somewhere, because we're literally going to gut our house.
We'll be displaced
and be like,
for Christmas.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe we should. And she's like, yes, please. So we started to do things around the house now, and which has been fun to get the tree up. And we've had the boys as well, so they've been excited to start doing stuff on the trees and the decorations in their room and all of that.
They're at such a good age.
Yes.
Like that was the golden age for Addie when she was little. Like I feel like I don't know if I've just never really like paid attention to it because I've always been so busy. And this year in business, it's different for me. I actually get to like look forward to the holidays and not be so swamped. But Wes is at a good age.
Yes.
2 years old is like magical. He asked me like 2 days ago if Santa Claus is coming to his house.
I love it.
So fun. I just feel so excited. I have like the magic feeling.
Us growing up, we waited because we got a real tree, right? So when you have a real tree, you got to wait a little longer typically.
You do.
Because the things. I have not had a real tree as an adult ever. So
I have not either. No.
You're going to go get the viral Home Depot one?
I saw it.
It twinkles.
I did.
Oh.
It's like 150,000 lights or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
it?
it's beautiful.
I thought you were going to say $150,000.
It's
I was like, oh my
I think
gosh.
it's $1,000.
It's all.
Is it really? Is that
600.
600.
Oh, maybe I was looking at the 8 foot
or the 9 foot one.
Yeah.
Are you going to have 4 of those in
Oh,
your house?
I only have 8 foot ceilings in my house.
It's saving you money by having 8 foot ceilings.
No, I have 3 trees already.
Oh.
I put one in Addie's room though.
Oh, of course.
So it looks different, but I have 2 living rooms technically. And
Same.
then we're going to do a real one, really tall one in our foyer.
Got it.
So
Okay.
anyway, go on. Real tree versus fake.
tree. So as an adult, never had one. And then I was always the person that liked to decorate early, but refrained most of the time until actually post-divorce, because the reality is I have girls that dance in the Nutcracker, which takes up our entire Thanksgiving weekend. And then if my schedule is off on a year, I don't get the kids back until maybe the second week in December. And I want them to be a part of the decorating. And as much as I like to decorate, thank you, Mother, it's not enough time for the amount of work that decorating is. I want it to be up.
Totally.
That's my thought process, is I want it to be up to enjoy. So
I agree with that.
this year I did some negotiating. My eldest daughter, who also loves to decorate, I think now appreciates it very differently that she's gone. And so she asked me if I would wait.
there is something
so that you guys can bond over that.
It's killing me
Yeah.
softly.
And-
Yeah. I mean, she said, Mom, we wait till I get home so I can help decorate. And
Yeah.
it's such a special thing to do that with her and for them to enjoy it. And she appreciates it differently.
Yes.
I think it used to be like, oh, we got to decorate. And now it's like, oh, we get to decorate.
Very much so.
But each of my kids have their own tree in their room. So my youngest, hers is up. Her room is done. And my tree is up and lit, but no decorations are on it because that's a process at my house. It's,
We've
a
been
lot.
under this this pressure because of having two households now with my ex-wife, so my boys go back and forth a lot.
Right.
They decorated for Christmas almost 2 weeks ago. So I've been hearing the Dad, can we start? Dad, can we start?
Yeah.
And we have a group chat,
yeah.
the four of us parents, and so we've been getting these like, oh, the stockings are up, and Rachel would give me that look of like, I'm like, not yet.
You're
it's
welcome.
October.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
hold on, and then we finally kind of caved. So
Yeah.
it worked out that way as far as everybody kind of getting it done. But the boys like already like, they're like, can we wrap some of our toys and like pretend we're excited about? I'm like, sure. So we
Sure.
wrapped like a stapler and we had a plastic cup that they wrapped
it.
and other
An
kinds
avocado.
of random stuff. Yes, all these random things. And they're like, oh, look, it's whatever.
fun.
Like, oh, so
That's
For the
so
amount
fun.
of work that it takes, I'm totally fine with decorating early. So there's no
That's
judgment.
true.
Judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
Decorate
Yeah.
when you want to
100%.
decorate.
I will say Christmas music in my household started before Halloween.
Amen.
And
Oh,
it's
wow.
on every morning in the car because I have a 9-year-old who's obsessed with Christmas and she just takes over that. So she just watched, we watched Elf and The Grinch before Halloween as well.
oh my goodness.
But I also think that this year's different for me because last year I was in a house that I had just moved into. Like it literally was just a year last week that we moved into it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I feel like this year I feel a little bit more established. I know where my stuff is. I
You have a plan.
Yeah, and we're doing something really fun with the exterior of our house. We're gonna wrap it like a present.
You are
Really?
not.
Yeah, because it's got new siding and it's all brand new. So we're gonna wrap our house like a present, and then we're gonna put twinkly lights just on the top. What? So it's gonna be red,
That's cool.
a big red present.
That
Like
needs
just
to go
red
on.
bow.
Yeah, we're going to need a photo
Our
of that.
I will
Instagram.
show it for sure. Hopefully, I get it done.
I love it.
because we ordered it. We ordered the stuff. So yeah,
Very
we're really
cool.
excited for that.
Neighbors are going to hate you.
Yeah, they love us.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
I love all my neighbors. But anyway, yeah. So
So do you all
don't know.
host? Do you host
Nope.
for Christmas?
Not normally, no. We have the deal where we have the kids the week of Christmas and then they go by their moms the week of New Year's. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is kind of our trade point.
Yep.
So every year the boys flip-flop in terms of where they wake up. So they woke up at our house last year for Christmas, and now this year Christmas Eve will be the swap time. So they'll wake up at mom's house this
Yeah.
next year. But because we're still young and able-bodied, we have to make the trips to family, right? Of like, oh, well, Aunt Hoosie Foots or grandma or someone's hosting. So we always, both sides.
The 40-minute trek.
Yeah, we'll go to Manitowoc, or we'll go to Kellnersville, technically.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
only
yeah.
like 30, 25, 30
Yeah.
we'll go because there's one of Rachel's aunts is just kind of they've got a large enough home that everybody kind of just converges
That's so
there.
awesome.
And then because my dad's side of the family is smaller, we usually do something small at my grandparents' house just because there's only a couple of us. And because my mom lives in Florida, we either try to do something virtually or sometimes Thanksgiving kind of turns into a mini Christmas because they're up here as well. And the boys
Could we
just
take
have-
the podcast to Florida?
I'm here for it.
Sure.
You host us in a second.
Travel.
I've
I
got
would
some
love
great
that.
spots we could go and we could take the podcast on the road.
I
Love
love
it.
Downtown Fifth Avenue.
That'll be the goal for 2024.
I'm
That'd
here
be
for
cool.
it.
On the
yeah,
road.
I'm
Live
here for
show.
it.
The live show
Love
from
it.
Naples, Florida. You heard it first.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
fun.
here for it.
We're manifesting. What
I
about you?
don't-
Do you host?
No, I've literally never hosted. I hosted one event at my old house in the country.
Do you have any interest in hosting? Because sometimes
when
that's
my
half
house is
the,
done.
That's half the battle. Is like I don't
Yeah.
want to host. I don't want to
Yeah.
fuss with it. And other times people are like absolutely. Like I love hosting, and I'm like if I had the space, I'd be like yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
come on over.
See, that's how my sister is. So she's hosting Thanksgiving, but she's due on Christmas Eve with her second baby.
Yay.
And so she normally would host. She hosted last year.
Of
She
course
lives in
she
a
would do
beautiful
that.
house in Ledgeview, and her house is just gorgeous and stunning. And she is just like by nature an entertainer. She thinks of the cutest things. She makes the best charcuterie. Like it's just so fun. And we all live super close to her, aside from just my siblings that live in Manitowoc as well. But and then my grandmas live in Manitowoc. But typically my parents would host, but now they live in an apartment. So this year they actually did ask me if I would host. And at first I was like, sure, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be so fun. But as I thought about it more, I'm like, I just don't think it's a good
Can
idea.
Sadie do it?
I don't think it's a good idea. And if Sadie, the catch is if Sadie goes into labor, I am doing her birth photography.
You have an out.
Oh.
So I'm out. So no, you cannot stay in my
Two
house.
of you are already gone.
I love you all.
Please note to Sadie, this would really help everybody out if you could go into labor accordingly.
Yeah. Primarily in between Christmas and New Year's would be like great. But anyway, yeah. So I'm not going to host probably unless that changes.
She could be listening to this while she's going through labor pain.
My parents' apartment is beautiful. It's in Ledgeview too. And it's beautiful, and they could host. Like we are the family.
They've got a great magazine. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Ledgeview's
the queen
great.
of Ledgeview.
The face of Ledgeview. I honestly am like, I like, so growing up, everybody was in one living room. Like we were cozy. We were close together. We would sit, like my siblings would sit on the couch. I would be on the ground in between their legs. Like closeness is kind of a thing for our family.
Yeah.
So my mom's always worried about that. Like, we don't have enough space for all the kids. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
Who cares?
We're
That's
together.
what we're here for.
Yep.
And we're
When you have to like
eat.
step over
If I have
somebody to get
eat
to a
my
present.
food on my lap, that's fine.
Right.
Because I'm with everybody that I love, and
100%.
I don't mind that. So, but
At least for that day. You love everybody for that day.
correct.
Yeah.
Every day.
Like, yeah.
We don't have
Every
no
day, but
strife
it's
in our
extra. Yeah.
That's true. I will say, going off of what you said, though, when I can't think of the city of Ledgeview or the residents of Ledgeview without, like, I picture you.
100%.
Like, if I
Well,
look up
thank
Ledgeview in
you.
the dictionary, it's Mandi. I'm like,
I'm
I don't
gonna
even
take
know
it
where
as a
it is.
compliment.
I don't know what
Thank
anything
you.
else is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You are the queen of Ledgeview.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I take what I do seriously, and I love working for the people that live there.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think
And
that's
they love
great.
you.
Well, hopefully. Most of them. Yeah.
But I think that ties in nicely, though, because I know obviously we want to talk about holiday stuff, but we did want to talk a little bit about what we normally do on the show as well, right? As far as we talked about balance a lot in the last episode. And
We could talk about that for 100
We really
episodes.
could.
Yeah.
And the lack thereof, right? The non-balance, I think, is kind of
Yeah.
the joke of what we've
The
kind of come
impossibility
about.
of
It's
balance.
not going to happen. But we've had interesting situations in our lives recently. You have as well, right, Mandi, in terms of that imposter syndrome that creeps in for some reason around the holidays that comes up even more. And then you're already trying to figure out, how do I balance family,
Right.
holidays, traditions, work? Sometimes a lot of businesses just shut it down and say, we'll see you in mid-January. We're done for the rest of the year once we kind of hit like early November. But I feel like it would be interesting to share some of those thoughts that we've had or some of the messages that you've received recently, because I think sometimes we need those reminders. We need those extra high fives, as it were, as far as like you're doing a good job, and hopefully that can be beneficial to others as well.
I agree with that. Yeah. I will say, like, my whole career as a wedding photographer, as a photographer in general, like, your hustle is from May to November.
Yeah.
That's your hustle. A lot of photographers make their yearly income during those months.
Exactly what I did.
Yep. Not a lot of people are choosing to get married outside in December in Wisconsin. And
Those weddings are beautiful.
yeah, they're beautiful.
beautiful.
Not for me,
but
they're beautiful.
I'm not like throwing you under the bus if you are one of those brides, but not a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
And me as a photographer, my whole life and my whole adult life, I've been a photographer. That's basically my identity in my life. And I would say that, like, when we're getting to the end of this season, a lot of businesses, a lot of places, like, oh, the holiday cards, people are asking, like, I got an email last night asking me if I am doing Christmas mini sessions.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my calendar here and I'm like, I have 0 days left
Wait a
before
minute.
Christmas. And when would you like these back? Yesterday? Because
Right.
I don't have time.
Right.
And then you flip the script and you go and you look at everybody's pictures on Instagram, and you're seeing all these photographers post their mini sessions and their Santa sessions and all of these beautiful photos and I'm like, when am I going to get all of my current clients' pictures back? That creeps in the business sense of, like, okay,
Should I be doing more?
Now
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough. My current clients want Santa and I don't have him. And my current clients want their pictures back 2 days after I take them. And I literally have heard of photographers that do get their pictures back within 3 days, which to me is it's just crazy to me, but
It depends on the type of photo.
correct.
They're
Yeah.
doing a point shoot
If
delivery.
it's
Technically,
five,
yeah.
if it's five images
Yep,
or
exactly.
Yeah. Here's your
Correct.
Or
four
if you have
images.
no sibling, no significant other, no kids, and no other
Right.
life, absolutely.
Yes.
And to
Right.
those that can do it, I'm not judging those that do it, but
Right.
And the
for
style
a
of
lot
photography.
of us, for
too.
a lot of us, that's not realistic.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So
Right.
for me, for sure, it's not realistic. I take a lot of time on my work, but that, for me, it applies to me with the imposter syndrome and the holidays, is because I feel like I need to do the most. I need to do it all. I need to have all of my ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And if I don't during the holidays, I am a failure in business.
So here's something though, from an outsider looking in, someone who's always admired the pictures that you take. The one thing that I know about you is you're not going to feel, well, I think I know this about you. You're not going to feel good about what you're offering if you're offering this to my family, Baxter's family, and 15 families, and everybody that you take is in the same position, on the same couch, with the same background, that doesn't represent your photography business. Right. And again, no shame to somebody that's doing that. Right. But the last thing that I want to do is go and have my family sit on a beautiful green couch with this gorgeous tree and we're all dressed up, and then I send the Christmas card out and I get 4 that we're all on the same green couch.
Wait a second.
And I think that is one thing that you really, I've never seen you photograph 2 weddings the same.
Thanks.
Although you have the same style.
I was going to say, the style.
Definitely have your style.
Yeah.
There's no, I don't think I've ever seen you say, okay, to this couple, now we're going to stage this photo and this one.
Sure.
They're all very unique.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to do that in a mini session, to create a unique vibe.
It's such a smash and grab with mini sessions, I feel like, right? Like, it's just a quick, like, hey, here's 15, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
You like this?
Smile, look this way. Oh, good. Now grab them. Oh, give them a little kiss, tickle them. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks, bye. And you're like,
next.
Well, and even in just the last year, I've really rebranded what my style of photography is. It's storytelling, and that doesn't fit a box. Right. So for me, in imposter syndrome and how it applies to me and how this kind of wraps into that for me is like, I really have focused on staying in my own lane in business, and not closing my eyes, because I appreciate everybody else's work. There are a lot of photographers on every single corner of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and there is room for all of us. There is room for everyone to show off. And that's a reason why I share my studio, because I'm not threatened by the next person. Right. I'm not, gatekeeping. I think it's really important to have a sense of community in that. And this year I've really worked hard on overcoming some of those really negative thoughts, those spiraling thoughts of, is my work even worth it? Because honestly, since I've shifted and rebranded, my people have found me. Yeah. And I'm full. And it's the reason that I'm not doing mini sessions. It's the reason that I'm not offering those, because I'm full with my people that love my work and that have been going to me. And I stayed in my own lane this year, and I focused on what I really love to do. And I haven't had as many thoughts.
Which also gives you the opportunity to be the best mom and be available for your kids.
Absolutely.
And watch your daughter play softball this summer and do some things, that you aren't able to do when you're doing multiple things.
Correct.
And I think the other thing that's super admirable is you could take a mindset on this space of, well, I'm not going to let another photographer come in because what if their pictures look better than mine?
Yeah.
Right? That's a scary thing. And I think it takes a lot of courage to open up a space that you're all photographing in and you're all saying, you know what, kudos to you for making this space look amazing in your photos. Yeah. Where you could easily say, I'm not going to let somebody in this space because I'm scared of what they're going to do.
Right.
You're supporting, and that I think is one thing that we all have a passion about. There's other magazines in the community. Yeah. There's other videographers in the community. And instead of us being threatened by that, I mean, of course there's imposter syndrome, right? Of course. Like, I want a team and I want them all to be beautiful and I want, but I'm a monthly magazine. So my content has to turn over quicker. I don't get 4 months in between issues. But I'm always trying to say, you know what's the positive of more magazines is it validates print. Like, it just does. So in the world that we live in the 920, where we're tiny and small, instead of being out to compare and criticize, why aren't we out to build and support?
Yeah.
And I think when people get to know us, they do know that about us.
I think
when they don't know us, it might be a different trick.
It's easy to judge. It's easy to look at anybody's exterior.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this on a previous episode or just off microphone a lot as well about, like you said, promoting others and sharing with others, right? I am the first person if someone comes to me and says, hey, do you do X? And I'm like, I can, but I know 5 people that'll do it way better. Right? Yeah. Like, especially when it comes to photo stuff. Like, I've been asked already, can you do a little mini session? Could you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, sure. I'm like, however, I know a really talented photographer, or if she's not available, 5 others that would also do a very good job. It's not discrediting my talents, because I think I could do it in my own way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And half the time it's a family or it's a friend of like, well, we know you. And I'm like, I appreciate that.
Right.
However, I'm like, there's someone that asked me for engagement photos and I gave them your name that you just did, a friend of ours. And I was like, she's going to do it way better. And I saw the photos. I'm like, couldn't even touch that. I'm like, that's great. And that's not a diss against my work. I'm like, I just knew the way that Allie does photos versus how I would have shot it.
It's staying in your lane.
Correct.
That's a very good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, ultimately, I'm like, yes, would the money have been great? I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that wasn't about it. I'm not a cash grabbing business owner. I'm like, yes, we all know it helps. It keeps the lights on, right? As it were.
Yeah.
But it's the experience of that person, in my opinion. And that's what I tell people. And like, oh, I've already got a video person. I'm like, fantastic. I'm like, I'd rather you have somebody than nobody at all.
Yeah.
Because that shows that you value it.
But then you passing that name along,
Correct.
it made room for your people to find you.
Correct.
Correct.
And that
Made
did.
room in your schedule because we all know that at the end of the year, there is a pressure as a business owner, especially if you're a creative that is putting out product or individual images or whatever that looks like for you as a business owner. There's a pressure that's like, it's just invisible. It's always there during this time of the year because nobody wants to get their pictures taken in November and not have their pictures back until January.
Yeah, by Christmas.
Correct?
Right. Yeah.
Everybody. That's your deadline. That's like Thanksgiving is a deadline.
Gotta
which
love
is
a deadline.
next, is that
You
next
live by
week?
deadlines.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's next week.
Gosh.
Allie is going to exit the podcast now and go
She
edit.
needs to go edit.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
She'll be back shortly.
Oh my gosh, so funny. I got chosen to make mac and cheese for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't cook. I'm a
have
terrible
a great
cook. I'm a
recipe.
horrible cook. Don't know
need to
even
cook.
how I locked
Stay
down my
tuned for
husband
Allie's
because
cooking
I'm just
podcast.
not a good cook. I burn everything. And I was like, I'll make mac and cheese. And then I saw a meme that says, turns out you need 4 to 5 hours of experience and a degree to make mac and cheese for Thanksgiving because that is the one thing everybody is looking forward to. And if it sucks, well, you're exiled
It's
for
true.
making
Like, you're really
anything.
done. Like, that's pretty straightforward and easy.
I do want to circle back on one thing that you said about turning people away from your own business, right? And having the courage to do it. I personally think that's when I woke up and was like, I am a true entrepreneur. When you can wake up and you can go into a meeting with somebody and you can say, you know what? I don't think we're a good fit to work together and it's okay.
Yes.
And it's okay. And not having that mindset of I have to work with everybody or everybody's a good fit for what I do or I'm a good fit for everybody. I think there is a point in your career where when you sit back in the chair and you say, you know what, this is a great meeting and you're great and your business is great. I just don't think we're the right fit.
Yeah.
I think that's the mark of when you actually truly become content as an entrepreneur.
It's true.
You're not chasing this fear. True. You're deciding what you want your future to look like.
Absolutely.
And to go along with that, I think sometimes it takes a relationship that you think is good, right? And then all of a sudden you get to the end of it or you get halfway through and you're like, oh, this is not good. And I was thinking about that in my head as you were talking. I was like, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 clients that I like got all the way to the end, delivered everything. And I was like, I really didn't enjoy that experience like, at the end. And I was like, and I haven't worked with them again and vice versa. And even for this year, like sometimes you don't know until like you could have a great meeting or you could have a great first date or a great, whatever. Right. And sometimes you don't know until you're doing it and you're in it and you're like, why did I do that?
I think as people with servant hearts, the one thing that I have said a lot in the last 3 years in my business is I get to work with everybody. I don't have to work with everybody.
Yes.
True.
Because I want to work for you, but I don't want to work for you.
Yes.
Well, you want to serve them. You want to make their life better.
Yes,
if you're
I'm not a doormat, right?
Yes.
Like as a business owner, and I think that's an important thing for us to chat on over time too. Like, yes, we're all in a position to serve, but we all need to be treated with respect.
Definitely.
And I'm not just a doormat, right? I'm working for you and I get to work for you, but I don't work for you.
Yes.
Like, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think stems back to a little bit of knowing yourself, knowing your business, knowing what you can provide and knowing your value, right? I know that is some sort of sometimes a faux pas of like, oh, know your worth, know your value. But sometimes truthfully in business, you have to say like, is it worth me to do a full day of 15-minute mini sessions that is going to stress me the heck out? That's
That I have to get back to people before Thanksgiving.
Pressure my, me and my family, and we have a trip coming up, and all of a sudden then you're like, it's not worth any monetary value anymore at that point because you're like, I'm I'm not going to enjoy this.
Right.
Now it turns into a job. And for the most part, we should really look to do things that are fun and are not as job-like, right?
And that you get the message like you got today. And that time becomes worth it. That stress of editing those photos, when you get that message from the bride.
Yeah.
And then you get a second one from the bride's mom. And then the message is nothing about the images, but we're so happy you're in our life.
Yeah.
Right.
And the experience that you provided it gives that like clarity that you are where you're meant to be in your business. 100%. You are doing a good job.
Yes.
Right.
I think it's really important that you take that into consideration in your business, because every photographer, every videographer, every magazine has their niche. They're different in their own ways. Mm-hmm. And although we live in a society where everybody is living this fast lane life and everybody's getting their pictures back so fast. Okay, so if I get your pictures back in 2 days to you, that means I didn't really look at your images. It means I didn't really...
make you a better photographer than the one that took a week?
Mm-hmm. Right. It's the end product. Mm-hmm. It's the experience you give while you're doing it. And this can be applied to any career, any business, any job, if someone's sitting down and reading your magazine, you have a feeling you want to give them.
Right.
And that's exactly how I feel with my photography business. Baxter, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I know that is definitely something that you really strive to do in your business, is create a feeling and to make sure that you're providing that feeling from beginning to end.
Yes, very much so.
It's really important that you stay true to that for yourself. And even if that looks different for the next photographer, the next videographer, the next magazine, your people will find you.
Yes. And I want to take a second too, because we had this conversation. I texted Allie at about, what time did I text you last night? I texted Allie at almost 11 o'clock last night.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I did not answer. I was sleeping.
Yes, I know.
Text goes on all night long.
Right, exactly. And I texted her because I was finishing editing a project for someone that I was excited about when I did it. I was excited during the edit, but then the longer I stared at it and the longer I was a part of it and it was late and I was tired and I was like, I texted her, I was like, I'm looking at these videos and I'm like, why did I do that? Did I forget how to run a camera? Do I even know what I'm doing? Right? I'm like, those are all the feelings that I was battling at that point. Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those weird pieces where I was like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. That imposter syndrome, right, snuck in a little bit. And I was like, what the heck's going on? But then Allie in the morning texted back and she's like, you're doing a great job. But it was something that you said that I thought stuck out. You're like, you asked a good question. You said, are you feeling overwhelmed in any way with the amount of work? She's like, when I get overwhelmed, my work gets mediocre to me. It's hard to say no to work. And I think that we, as business owners, are like, well, if someone's asking, I should probably say yes, right? And
correct.
Me, that was just
want to serve them.
Right, exactly. That's an opportunity to serve, get my name out there, make some money, all of that stuff, right? But I think for me, that pushed me back for a second to say, oh, wait a second, like, what am I saying yes to? What am I not saying yes to? But also, you followed up with that. You said, maybe you need to take a little breather to catch up and get inspired. She said, it is almost impossible to always feel consistently inspired and creative. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Because when you are just next thing, you're like, sure, I don't know, maybe I think that looked good, whatever. And you're just trying to get it out,
it's fine.
Right. And as a consumer, I would never want a meh thing, right? I would never want a meh car. I don't want a meh house or, a meh camera, right? Like, I want a good, a great, an awesome thing back.
And you also strive to do that as a videographer as well.
Correct.
Like me too.
Yes.
Like, I don't ever want to, I'm not trying to say that I look at your pictures and I'm like, meh, good. I want them to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's uncharacteristic of you to say, that's fine. Because that's not who you are.
No, absolutely
you stand
not.
behind your work. We stand behind our work. We stand behind the job we're providing. And that's also what sets us apart in business. Yep. And that's why you've had a successful business for over 5 years. I've had a successful business for over 10 years. Yep. You're going to be well on your way. Yep. It's just, that's another part of it. It's another piece of it.
Right.
And I think we need people in our lives that are going to speak truth kindly, and say to us, okay, you're the only one that's thinking this. These aren't real thoughts.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Your mind is playing tricks on you.
Right. And that's where the imposter syndrome goes in, is we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. We're comparing everything that we do to others. We're micromanaging everything. We're overthinking everything, when at the end of the day, we're all putting out a product that because we are entrepreneurs and we want to be the best, and every time we do the next job or we partner with the next person, we want to be better.
Yep.
Yeah.
We want to be better than the last. But the truth is that we're constantly criticizing ourselves along the way. So how can we stop, embrace okay, this is maybe not my best work, but did I give it my best effort in the moment?
Right.
Yep.
In the circumstances of my life and that week, did I give it my best?
Yes.
I think holding honesty and authenticity in your business is essential.
Yeah.
Me taking a step back, and I know that my client is saying, well, my friend got married 3 weeks ago and they got their pictures back already. And I got married 5 weeks ago and I don't have my photos back yet. Also, like, if you're a business owner, you have to, reassure them.
Yeah.
Like, me as a photographer, I'm applying this to myself, but open lines of communication, show honesty. Hey, guess what? My son hasn't slept in 5 weeks. When I normally would edit your photos, that's time I have to be with my family.
Correct.
Yeah.
Showing that honesty to your client will 100% give you the respect that you desire from your clients in the long run, because people value that more than you just being like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Right.
Or,
passing the buck.
yeah,
I will tell you,
blaming or whatever.
Yeah, I had a situation, this has probably been, 7-8 months ago. And it was a client, high profile client of mine, and they're wonderful ladies. They're amazing ladies. And I dropped the ball. Stroll Ledgeview has gone through a lot of branding changes not branding changes, but we went through a rebrand a couple years ago. And the look and the style of the magazine has become very uniform across the nation. They really wanted it to be a uniform platform. And in this situation, they changed the save the date. The save the date in the magazine looked very different. And I did not research how to make this save the date really stand out in the magazine. So it didn't. It just looked like any other page. And it wasn't really a huge call to attention to be like, don't miss this, right? And I was like, all right. So I picked up the phone. I called them. And I'm like, ladies, I dropped the ball. And do you know the first words out of her mouth? That's so refreshing. And I was like, that I dropped the ball? And she's like, no, that you admitted that you dropped the ball. And she's like, can I just say how much I appreciate your transparency and the fact that you picked up the phone to call me? And I was terrified that I was going to lose a client, that no one was going to show up at the event, like all the things.
It's one of the hardest parts about being a business owner.
And I think that's, at the end of the day, they know I'm a human, but they have an expectation and I have a job to do.
Yeah.
And I fell short on my job. Yep. But I could have said, well, it was the printer's fault. It was the design fault. It was this, it was that. And I didn't. And I'm so glad that I didn't. And that little lesson, and I tell that story often because that little lesson reminds me that I'm not only going to drop the ball. It's not if, it's when.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to.
We're all human.
Then what am I going to do when the ball is dropped? Am I going to run from it? Am I going to hide from it? Am I going to pass the blame? And I always go back to that moment where, and it doesn't always work out this way, but I go back to the moment where someone said to me, it's refreshing that you took ownership. Because I think people understand when we make a mistake if we just fess up.
Yeah,
but it's really easy. It's really easy to be like, oh, well, my computer wasn't working, or, I was waiting on this, or I'm someone else's fault, right?
Sure.
Because in today's world, I think people pass a lot of blame.
They do, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had my first situation with that earlier this year for a new client that I had, and I wasn't able to make it to a shoot, but I had enlisted the help of somebody else to go and shoot it, but I was going to do all the editing, just as a representative of the brand of Colburn Creative going down to do that.
Sure.
And
you mean you couldn't be in two places at once on the same day?
No, I had to.
I'm surprised.
I know.
That you can't
I tried.
Do that.
Science has come a long way, but I
Right.
haven't quite got the cloning process. That would be really helpful, though, truly. But person went. They did the shoot. Checked in with the client afterwards. They're like, "Yep, they were great. Appreciate it. Thank you so much." I'm like, "Awesome." Got the footage back, and I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "The footage was not great. It was not up to the standard of what it would have been
Your brand
had I been there. Had it been some of the creative choices that were made, I was just like, this is not me. This is not what you get when you work with me." And I had already done a few shoots with that person, so they knew what my brand, what my level was. And for them to then get a representative of Colburn Creative, but not Baxter, then all of a sudden there was that disconnect.
Yes.
And so I had to look at everything. I had to pick up the phone and basically say, this is not a representation of the type of work that we're capable of doing. So I had to give a massive discount because I felt bad. And they're like, well, obviously I'll still pay you for the work. I'm like, I appreciate that, but you're not going to pay a full price for this because you didn't get that value.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to be able to just have that first moment where I was like, okay, well, how do I handle this? And are they going to want to work with me? Thankfully, yes, I've done 25 other shoots with this client since that point. But in that moment, because it was still early in the relationship, I was like, because I didn't make that drive to go do this, is it my fault? Did I just lose a client? And thankfully, no, because it was the right person. It was a good person that was like,
I get it.
It happens. I appreciate you, fessing up and saying, yep, this is not quality. I appreciate you, taking a discount or a half charge because that wasn't what it is. And all good. We'll get them on the next one.
And when we as business owners enlist people to help us run our business or help us represent our business or do something for us, it's not always easy to take the blame when something doesn't go right when we're not physically there.
Right.
But as business owners, like that is one of the hardest things that I'm learning is like my team is my team. And no matter if they fall short or not, I'm taking the fall.
Correct.
Yep.
I'm taking the blame. And sometimes there's nothing I can do about it except for take responsibility. And it is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do as an entrepreneur is to be like, well, this fell short on this. I can't do that. At the end of the day, this is my team, this is my business, and we fell short.
And if we are enlisting them, right, if I say Mandi's going to come along and, be my second shooter, whatever comes out of your camera, Mandi, is
nobody
what it is.
Probably wants to have that happen.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you know what, like that. I'm putting that full trust. That's me saying to client X, if Mandi's here working with me, she's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's at my level or better, right? And you're going to get a great product,
right?
No matter what. So that's why it is so important to pick the right people, also, right?
100%.
I think such a learning curve for us at times because you're like, oh, I've got this friend, I've got this, college, whatever, this family member. Oh, my cousin does this. Well, that's great within reason.
Right.
But if you're going to bring them to a bigger level or a higher profile,
they have to match your brand.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So I think that can go such a long way and can cause problems and not at the same time. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I brought you. Thank you so much. Right. Type of thing.
Right.
So it just depends. Right.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that you do when you're having a down day and you're really finding yourself comparing and kind of saying like, I'll never be like them. I'll never be able to do this. And that negative self-talk starts to creep in. Do you have something that you do or something that you go to?
Yeah. I turn my phone off and I go outside.
Do you really?
Yeah. I exit.
You exit.
It's not avoidance. I wouldn't say. I would say that I see in myself some tendencies of avoidance in business. If something,
we all do.
Right. If something just doesn't feel right, I'm like, I gotta turn this off. I'm going to come back to it another day. Now this more so applies to me in terms of like marriage, motherhood, my blogging brand, things like that. When I'm trying to create content or I'm trying to post something, I have to really dig deep and say to myself, these accounts, these pages that I'm looking at right now, they aren't good for me. They're not good for my mental health. And I can, on like a really good day, like acknowledge that. I literally turn my phone off.
You realize you're doing it.
Oh yeah. I can realize. I'm to the point though that I've been paying attention to a lot of things. I've been trying to heal myself since I've had postpartum depression and anxiety. Like there are certain things that do trigger me. One of them was like, I love style, but I was following all of these influencers and these people that are in style that are literally a size 0, have no children,
have a baby,
have no children. Their bodies don't look like me. They have all the time in the world.
5'7",
whatever. Yes. So
5'8", 5'9". How tall are you?
5'9". I'm 5'9".
Can we just take a moment?
I'm tall
and appreciate all the tall
ladies.
But I turn my phone off.
Yeah.
I leave it upstairs charging in my bedroom and I close the door behind me and I try really hard to disconnect myself from these negative things that it's so easy to sit here and just be like,
criticize
this all day. Like just, I get lost. There are times that it's just habit. It's all of us do it. It's a habit. But that's what I do. I don't know. That's for me. I need fresh air. I need to get outside. I went for a walk yesterday with my kids and I felt so inspired after I saw the sunset with them.
Right.
That I was like, tomorrow's going to be a really good day. And I woke up so happy. And that's how I used to always wake up.
Right.
And ever since social media, sorry to cut you off, but ever since social media came into the picture
Diving
and has
in.
dominated all of our lives.
Yeah.
Right.
More times than not, I'm going to bed feeling drained, or I was feeling so drained or feeling so like uninspired. And it only really helps if I really disconnect and stay in my lane.
Did you at one point tell me you lived in an apartment that didn't have any windows? Did I dream that? Or did
Been
you
the
tell me
other
that?
alley.
So
No, I thought at
Like
one point
jail?
you said there.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I
called
thought
prison.
you told me
No,
there was
it's called
very
prison.
limited daylight in a space.
it
that
was
you were-
our last house when I had Wes.
So your
Okay,
little,
so I'm
your little
not
mini
dreaming
house,
this.
right?
My little house was 800 square feet.
Yeah.
And it had one window in the living room and it had one window in the kitchen.
So-
and then it had bedroom windows, but it was like just your
It's
standard.
interesting because once you've removed something like so powerful, like the power of daylight and sunlight
Yeah.
in Wisconsin in the winter months, maybe that's why you're so drawn to the fresh air and getting outside.
I would
is
say.
because you
makes sense.
had limited exposure to it. I will say that I've never come up with something in my business, and now that I ask the question, I don't know where the question came from, but clearly I need to. So I haven't formatted how to do that with my business, but I will tell you that in the process of my very long divorce, I used to give myself, I'd set a 12-hour timer. I know that sounds like a really long time, but I would set a 12-hour timer on days where I felt like I couldn't make it through the day. Like I was sad, or I was depressed, or I didn't have the kids, or I was scared or uncertain, or there was things that were just heavy. And I would set a timer. And at that point in my life, I was running a lot. And I would put all my running gear by the door, every piece that I needed to go for a run. And when that 12-hour timer went off, it was time to get out of bed. It was time to put on my running gear, whatever emotions I was feeling. I never let myself feel it for more than 12 hours because I had friends that would spiral into one day and then 2 days and then 3 days. And that was my resolution. But I need to find something in my business. What about you, Baxter?
Yeah.
What do you do?
So I similar situation to what Allie does in terms of trying to disconnect, move away from the phone, right? Because that's always half the battle. Is I look at other people's stuff and I'm like, wow, like my quality doesn't match that.
Yeah.
It's never been a client thing for me. Just as a side note, I've never been like, I wish I was working with Nike. I wish I was working with major box brands, right? Like
I mean, you're working with us.
well, right, and that's I don't need to go.
It's as high as
exactly.
yeah,
That is
right.
the Mount Everest right there. But like, so it's never been a that. It was always for me. My biggest comparison is always like the physical quality of the video or the photo that somebody is posting, and I was like, I have that same camera. I'm like, why am I not doing that?
Why does
It's
my
that-
shot not look like
right,
that?
It's that frustration of like, do I know what I'm doing? And that's where a lot of it comes from sometimes with me, as far as how I kind of beat myself up. Is I'm like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like, how am I even still in business at times, right? Is kind of where I go.
Right.
Which we all think that.
Right.
100%.
Which is true.
So-
that is very
Like,
true.
how do I publish a magazine every month?
Right.
I'm
And,
terrible.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there's always that self-doubt, right? That kind of swings around. But then for me, it is disconnecting. My biggest thing for a long time in my life was always sports. So I would disconnect from whatever. I always knew that I could get away from my parents' divorce, from bad situations at home, bad relationships, and I could go play soccer, or I could go play golf, or I could go play football. So like those are the things for me, because you're completely disconnecting and then you're putting yourself in a whole nother situation that requires your attention.
Yeah.
I can't think about the 5 things I have to edit while I'm playing soccer on
Right.
Sundays.
Right.
Because I have to focus on getting a ball and trying to score and passing it off and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I try to disconnect a lot. And similar for me, I played a ton of golf during my divorce process because
Yeah.
I was like, I needed to be outside. Thankfully, it happened during like the summer, early fall. So I was
Thank
I was
goodness.
just outside a ton.
Yeah.
It was a
because of
distraction
that.
for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was distracted and I was
And it was something that brought you joy.
correct, because it was like, oh, that was nice. Or sometimes just hitting something.
Yeah.
Hitting
Right?
something helps too. That
Swing harder.
That helps.
good one.
I'll talk
Yeah.
about it in therapy. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
fine. But like that goes a long way though.
Yeah.
And I found there's a major difference if I have my kids when I feel that way and when I don't have my kids. Like, because when my kids are there, I'm like, great, none of this matters. I
Right.
need to be a good dad right now.
Right.
Whereas if I don't have them, it just depends. And I'm a little
Yeah.
bit of a loose cannon at times. I'll be like, I'll ask my wife, I'm like, can we go for a walk? Like, can
Yeah.
we do something that doesn't involve me being in this space
Here.
right now? And
Right.
she's always to be like, yes, absolutely. Let's go do something else. So that always helps. I can't just sit in it and just be like, oh, I just figure it out. Like,
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's true. You just need a break. Sometimes there are hours on end where you're working on a project and the more you stare at it, the more you look at it, you're like, I can't, this is horrible. Then you start questioning and second guessing your own worth, not
Yeah.
in like business, but just like in general.
Right.
And then you're like, you spiral. You just can't be doing that. So finding joy staying in your lane.
Yeah.
You know, being, I don't know, honest with yourself, honest with your clients, honest with your customers.
And maybe going back and reading some of those positive messages that we get, because we're so quick to
Do you save those? Like, do you have a folder?
I used to, and I stopped doing it, but I really should, because, you know, when I'm going on meetings and people are like, does anyone really read this magazine? And I'm like, here's 30 people that are like, hey, I loved this article. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you put this family on the,
That'd be a great t-shirt for you though, to like really tongue in cheek, be like the most unread magazine in Ledgeville, like
right.
Nobody reads it.
Nobody reads us.
Yeah, nobody reads us.
Exactly.
But
I was going to say that could be a good tip for the entrepreneur that's listening.
Yeah.
Is in business, you're going to have times where you have messages of maybe not the best outcome, or maybe they're not feeling great about it.
People are unhappy.
Save the great messages.
Yeah.
Screenshot them. Screenshot the message you get from the bride or from a really happy client, and save them in a folder for yourself, because then on those down days, you have a little pick-me-up that's free.
Right.
That's good for your mental health. That makes you feel good about what you're doing. And that kind of just like grounds you in your business to where you can come back to that and say, nope, I am doing a good job. And I am showing up doing my best.
Do you know what I want to do for 2024? This is my goal.
Yeah.
I'm going to print off the good messages.
You do that.
Put them in a folder.
Yeah.
In the morning, instead of grabbing my phone and checking my emails, instead, I'm going to read the positive messages every morning, and I'll take my emails and do them at the end of the day.
I love that.
Because the emails can sometimes not always be our friend.
Yeah.
And that defines my day. And I'm usually doing that when I'm still laying in bed in the morning. And now I've started my day before I've said hi to my kids, good morning to my boyfriend, whatever it is, that's defining my day. Wouldn't it be great if we could start every day with 5 or 6 positive things?
Yeah. Words of encouragement
that's my
to
goal.
ourselves.
2024. I'll let you know how that's going.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I love that.
I'm the same, but I save a lot of text. I was trying to find one specific one. I can't find it off the top of my head, but I take screenshots, or I will save them in a folder.
Yeah.
That I will read at times, or emails. Sometimes I'll just, drag it into a separate folder. And
if I could go back to my 5-year-old self, 5-year ago self, save the good.
Yes.
Save the good.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah, we dwell so much on the bad, and there's going to be bad.
And it's funny because I was just talking to someone, this is more so on the mental health, and I don't want to get off on another tangent, but when you constantly think negatively, or you constantly think like, oh, I'm the worst at this. Oh, I'm so like, what am I doing? Those thoughts can consume you.
They become things.
They become real in your brain. And even if your goal is to do more positive self-talk, it's not that you shouldn't, I don't want to make this sound bad, but like there are going to be days where it's hard, and there's going to be days where you have negative self-image and negative self-talk and whatever. It's not about not doing that. It's about doing more positive self-talk in business, especially, I think.
Very much so, yeah.
Because you show up better as your best, most authentic self in business when you are filling yourself with positivity and
somewhere
good.
It's a proven fact. Somewhere it's proven. We'll close on this. Somewhere it's a proven fact that it's not about the positive self-talk as much as it is about stopping the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
So you can positive self-talk, talk yourself all day long, but if you're still talking the negatives,
it's still going to consume you.
It's way better to take out the negative and never say a positive than just remove the negative. So
there it is.
Quote right there.
If there's anything you take away today.
I love it.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back.
Yeah. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Spotify. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well. And on our YouTube channel, if you want to watch the show, if you want to see these beautiful women with all their fun outfits and me wearing Ally's clothes. If you don't know that reference, you got to go back and watch episode 2. But it's not as weird as it sounds. But I'm thankful for both of you. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and I just want to say I'm thankful for both of you ladies, not only professionally, but personally being in my life. So love doing this and love all the things that we get to talk about.
Same.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you all listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.